Hello YouTube. This happened in the spring of 1942. During the war at the passes on the Caucasus Mountains reached World War II. There's not much that I know about this story, but it's a very unusual story about the Almasta, abominable snowman, Yeti, Bigfoot. Call this creature whatever you want. That year, the Nazis were eager to cut the oil arteries leading from Transcaucasia and deprive the army of the Soviet Union of supplies and military equipment of fuel. To bleed out the Soviet tanks, which had already learned well how to fight back against them. Later, these pages of the chronicle of what we call Great Patriotic War will be called the Sky High Front. And these battles on the high mountain passes will forever be inscribed in the history of the Caucasus. The events described took place in April, when one of the mountain artillery batteries received an urgent order to relocate to new positions. The enemy was advancing rapidly, if possible, without giving away your location, that is, without engaging in battle. The battery had climbed higher up the Gonachkir Gorge towards the Klukhor Pass and take up a solid defense there. The battery had 6 guns, that is, 60 horses and 50 people walking. Walking through the mountains with such a wagon train was very difficult, and no matter how hard they tried, it turned out to be slow. It was a warm day in mid-April. April in the Caucasus is a turning point of the seasons. The beginning of the month is always brown and colorless. There are no leaves in the mountains yet, only the sun is warming, in a real spring-like way. The weather was becoming stable with clear days from morning to evening, and by the end of the month everything has faded. The last petals from apple trees and apricots were flying around. The slopes are covered with fresh green grass and the first alpine flowers. In April, nature awakens from hibernation right before your eyes. In the morning, there are swollen buds on the branches, and in the evening there are fresh, bright green leaves. And the smells, the aromas of flowers and herbs are dizzying after a long winter. And also the sounds, bees buzzing, birds singing, and the sound of mountain rivers. The rapid melting of snow in the mountains fills the riverbeds with water, which is getting more and more every day. It is muddy and dirty, and the menacing noise of huge boulders rolling over warns that it is dangerous to approach rivers during this period. And even despite all the hardships of the war, people were distracted by the beauty of nature. That spring, like the forerunners of victory, seems familiar to tired people, although there were still many battles ahead, many losses, a lot of fear, courage, and gunpowder smoke. The battle for Elbrus was still ahead, but that day, for some reason, it seemed that the worst was already over, and ahead lies the same spring and the road home. The battery was moving slowly, but the commander receiving the reports found out that the enemy was moving even slower. Fresh divisions of German Rangers, equipped with new equipment, were constantly experiencing difficulties. They reached a dead end twice, even though there's only one main road here. Their machines always stalled, stopping the movement of the column for dozens of minutes. The news was encouraging, but the Soviets, they still had to hurry as fast as they could. According to intelligence reports, they would soon have to engage in battle if they could not cover another 5 kilometers before nightfall. Although the people were tired, they were able to accelerate. The horses suddenly began to show concern. They snorted, barked, and were visibly nervous. The battalion commander called two combatants, two soldiers, and told them that the horses apparently smell some kind of predator that is stalking them, and he needs to be shot or at least scared off. Otherwise, they won't get that far. The battery moved on, and the soldiers set up an ambush. The place was chosen perfectly, the whole gorge in front of their eyes. And after a while, they actually noticed a huge bear cautiously following in their footsteps. Taking aim at it, they opened fire and killed the beast on the spot. He collapsed to the ground. The soldiers ran to him, took a closer look, and froze. It was not a bear, although it was also covered from head to toe with coarse fur. The head was that like of an ape, and the hands did not have any claws, but long fingers. The legs were straight and well proportioned, like a human's. Soon, at the sound of gunfire, the battalion commander and an orderly came running. They also examined the strange beast. "If it weren't for the war," the battalion commander said with great regret, "we would have taken him right then to the zoo to see the specialists. Show it to the reporters." He took out a map and made a mark. "You know what, combatants? There's a glacier right next to this. Well, quickly dig a hole in the ice, put it in there and fill it up. God willing, after the war, we'll see what it is." The soldiers easily dug a hole in the ice, but when they approached the beast, they froze in indecision. For some reason, it became scary to even touch him, and the further they would go, the more. After hovering nearby, they suddenly backed away without speaking, and the beast barely noticeably moved. Then he slowly sat down. The soldiers, seeing this, recoiled away in horror, but he, not paying any attention to the people, got heavily to his feet and slowly moved towards the thicket. He walked like a human on two legs, but sometimes he got down on all four. He walked further and further away and disappeared into the thicket, and it was as if the obsession had left the people. Realizing that they were wasting valuable time, the battalion commander ordered an urgent pursuit of the battery to catch up. Even before sunset, they could already hear the sound of German engines behind them, barely managing to take up positions and remain unnoticed for the time being. In the morning, the Germans will receive a gift in the form of a targeted salvo of direct fire. But for now, looking at the stars, the orderly spoke softly to the battalion commander. "We call them our master. My grandfather told me how, when he was still young, he once met someone like that. And who are they? Wild people, intelligent beings. They are on their own. Stay away from us. I've always believed it, but I've never seen it before. But today I saw and understood a lot." "And what did you understand?" "He wasn't just following us. And the Germans did not just get lost twice. And their machines did not just break down. He helped us." They paused, and the orderly continued. "Do you remember how we stood over him calmly, and then the soldiers couldn't come up? He was unconscious, but then he began to come to himself, to his senses, and that's why they were able to shoot him. He was focused on the Germans. He wasn't thinking about us. It turns out that he's not happy with the Germans either." The commander replied, "So they don't really not care about us. It turns out that he was helping us, and we almost killed him. I think he understood that we didn't mean to. If he didn't think so, you and I wouldn't be sitting here talking." This is the story that I wanted to let you know. would be nice to have more details. Stories about military encounters with the Almaster are scant, but I have some in my videos you can find in the channel under cryptozoology, Bigfoot, research in the Soviet Union, and so forth. And I'll bring you more stories about the Almasta, about the Caucasus, about other parts of the former Soviet Union, and beyond, Mongolia and China and so forth. Thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support my research, please do so. You will find how to do it in the description to this video. Please like my videos, tell others about my work.